Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Working Land Enterprise Initiative Business Grantee Orientation. Can everyone hear me all right? If someone wouldn't mind just writing something in their chat box or just responding. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for unmuting and for letting us know. This is Melissa Moon and
I'm Tori Manigan. And that's a good reminder, so just make sure everyone mutes themselves or else there will be some funny feedback and we won't be able to hear each other. So this is the Working Lands Administrative Team. Chelsea Lewis is the Business Development Section Chief with the Vermont Agency of Agriculture. She administers the Working Lands Enterprise Initiative and oversees out-of-state marketing initiatives. She has an MS in Agriculture, Food, and Environment from the Tufts University Friedman School of Nutrition Science and Policy, where she conducted the research for a capacity assessment of New England's large animal slaughter facilities as relative to meat production for the regional food system, published in 2011. She lives in Waterbury with her husband, Nate, and son, Jack.
And Chelsea would be with us today, but her son Jack isn't feeling too well, so we miss her. I'm Melissa Moon, the Grants Administrator for the Working Land Enterprise Initiative. I will be working closely with each of you to guide you through the entire grant cycle and to cheerlead you towards project success while navigating some of those regulatory ins and outs. When I'm not in the office, I'm in the woods, educating others on our ecosystems, flora and geology, wildcrafting, fiddleheads, ramps, and a wide variety of fungi and medicinal herbs.
And Noel is currently out on maternity leave, but Noel assists both the Working Lands Enterprise and Vermont Agricultural and Forestry Product Development Boards. She focuses on communications, outreach, marketing, and stewardship. Noel has an MS in Community Development and Applied Economics from the University of Vermont, concentrating on farm to institution. In addition to her endearment for Vermont food and wood products, Noel is an avid runner and cyclist and loves the great outdoors.
And I will just add here, this slide, as you can see, was first created when the Working Lands Board and the Ag and Forest Product Development Board were separate. A year and a half ago, both boards were combined into one. So this shows you the progress from when we started doing these webinars to now.
And when will Noel be back with us?
Noel will be back with us just after the 4th of July, but she's bonding with Stella right now.
And I'm Tori Manigan. I'm sure you've all received at least one email from me already. I am new to the agency. I'll be working very, very closely with Melissa to make sure that all of your grant requirements are met and to answer any questions that you have. I got an MBA in sustainability from Antioch University, New England, and when I'm not at work, I choose to be in my garden or tending to my honeybees.
Matt Langlis at the Department of Forest Parks and Recreation. He is the board designee for Mike Snyder, and actually since that time, the Forest Parks and Recreation now has a deputy commissioner, Sam Lincoln. So Matt is designee to both Mike Snyder and Sam Lincoln. Matt has 15 years of experience in forestry, and since '06 he has served as the Caledonia-Essex County Forester, provides information tech assistance, outreach to many people managing and stewarding their forest land. He's a Christmas tree owner. His farm is in Burke, Vermont, and he graduated from UNH with a degree in wildlife biology and forestry.
So welcome. We're going to hold questions until the very end. However, please be sure when you have a question to write them in the chat box, and we'll be sure to answer them when it's appropriate. All of the materials and the recording of the webinar will be made available on our website, www.vermontworkinglands.com. If you have any technical difficulty during the presentation, please don't hesitate to shoot me an email. I do have my email up.
And we're recording this webinar so that you can view it later, because there are a wide variety of technical ins and outs connected with state grants, because we are, our greatest constituency are the taxpayers of Vermont. So, congratulations! You have got this far. Now the work begins.
In this webinar, we will provide you with an orientation to the grant agreement and to your next steps with the GMS, which is Grants Management System. Some important sections that we're going to go over that Melissa can speak more directly to are the cover page of your grant agreement, which have the start and end date, the grant amount, and then we'll go through attachment A, B, C, and D.
Other rules and regulations regarding grants, and you all have already done some deep diving in the grants management system, as Tori has negotiated some of your budgets back for your goals and outcomes. We're going to be talking about that in a bit. For submitting claims, which is what they call reimbursements in the system, financial documentation, all these parts, working parts of your grant agreement. And we have some resources available on the VermontWorkingLands.com website. So, in order to set up your grant, Tori's already been in contact with you. We need a W-9 with your name, business name, and Social Security or EIN, certificate of insurance. This is very important. It has the amounts required by attachment C that names the state as an additional insured.
And both the W-9 and COI are due on Friday, this coming Friday, April 21st.
Ding, ding. And we need verification that your matching funds are in hand, hot in hand, and ready to be used now. We'll talk about that later.
So the cover page of your grant agreement contains the project title, start and end dates for the grant project, maximum amount payable, as well as the contact person. So the next slide is going to show an example cover page. You can see there's the award start date, end date, amount.
Yes, and so if you look in the middle, it shows performance measures. Yes, you have performance measures. The matching will be listed there in the middle, and the amount if it's cash and in kind. That's section 2. Ignore. Those for federal grants. You're lucky these are state funds.
Oh,
here we go.
Animation.
And highlighting each of those sections. Now the bottom half covers the grant amount again. It will also in that bottom right corner shows the grantee. For most, it's your business is the actual grantee, and you are the contact unless you're doing a DBA, doing business as, your title, phone, and email address. This is all important for our business office so that she knows, our dear colleague Donna, who you will also hear from, she knows where to send your grant. We are actually transitioning with our grants management system to sending grants from inside the system as correspondence to you. We're sort of in a hybrid phase right now, but our goal is to be utilizing this system for all communication, for all documentation, so it's a one point of contact.
Open. Highlights again.
Highlights. So the attachment A contains your statement of work, and this is that scope of work that you provided, telling us who's doing the work, when the work is being done, and your project budget. It also contains your goals, performance measures, and outcomes that we are currently, some of you revising, have sent back. And this is really important because you're accountable for attaining those outcomes indicated in your grant agreement. That's why we want to make sure that they are reasonable, attainable, and measurable within the 18 months of your Working Lands grant. Final payment is based on attainment of these outcomes. And this is an example that we've already negotiated back, but as you can see, these are what our measurements, what we're measuring, what our goal is, and then what the measurable and attainable outcome is for each one.
And your interim and final reports will also speak to these. So when we ask for your interim and final reports, we'll ask that you base your reporting on your goals, performance measures, and outcomes. So we will be sure that you are in line to get your grant award.
Right. So we're here to be communicating with you all along the way, shepherding you. We're going to have some board buddies with you from our board, really to shepherd you along and cheerlead you towards your project success. So you've already done some review and revision of your goals, performance measures, and outcomes. See, we're ahead of the game already here. Tori's negotiated many of these back to you. You've already received an email saying that some of these things are in negotiated status. And this shows you those screens you're getting to know very well. You click on the title of your grant, and that's the screen that many of you see when you get to your grant. It shows you when these different forms that are part of your active grant are, and I'll just point the second line down as claims. Claims are how you get paid. Status reports, that's what they call interim and final reports. We may have site visits. Correspondence we will be using heavily throughout the duration of your grant agreement. The project work plan is what you submitted. It's carrying over from your application, as well as the impact, goals, performance measures, and outcomes. The budget is carried over. If you negotiate it, the new version will be there. And then other information in your narratives. Oh, and you see that placed there, W-9 and COI upload. That's where you've received messages from Tori asking you to submit those. So the attachment A, with your interim report, which you enters in the GMS, you'll need 2 high-res pictures, one of you and one of your business. With your final report, we'd like 4 high-resolution images, after images, highlighting accomplishment, impact, and your completed work. Now, very important here is that if you have a presentation, you have an open day, and you're sharing with the public the accomplishments you did with the grant. Could you just click one more time, please? The Working Lands must be credited as a source of project funding, and that logo down in the corner, click one more time, must be included in your grant. We're going to switch the mouse over to me. So include, and we do have a copy of this logo on the VermontWorkingLands.com website so that you can download that logo for use. So I'm going to take a drink of water here. And review, we've mentioned before, the goals, performance measures, and outcomes are the benchmarks for your grant. Final payments contingent. That's why we negotiated them back to you. And we want to make sure that they're attainable within the 18-month period. So, as Tori mentioned, you need to note your progress toward attainment, toward these outcomes in your interim and in your final report. Most important here is communication between you and us to let us know immediately if you feel that you're having difficulty with your project, that it's being delayed, something's coming up. anything, because we have ways to help you if needed.
And I just want to pause real quick for 1 second. I have one person saying that they're having issues seeing the presentation. I just want to make sure that that's not everybody. If you don't mind just giving some feedback if you're able to see the PowerPoint presentation, or if you're having any issues. So feel free to just speak up or type it in the chat box.
Okay, well, I think I fixed that.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sorry, yeah.
Excellent. No, that's good feedback to get. Okay. So grantees are strongly encouraged to, oh, I see, we got a different thing here. There we go. So the budget that was submitted with your application or that we negotiated back to you is inserted into your grant agreement. This is your original, quote unquote, budget. With the budget, it might look a little different in the GMS. And then with your final report, you submit a budgeted versus actuals reconciliation, noting your working lands and matching funds utilized, and you compare your actual expenditures against your original budget. So one of the things that the state of Vermont wants when we decide to issue grants to people is that they're prepared to track funding and to track their expenditures, because we actually have to rate you on a what we call a pre-award risk assessment. And so that's why we sometimes ask if you have QuickBooks or another way of tracking your expenditures and your in-kind labor time, because the state considers that a higher risk. Now, for many of our smaller businesses, many of them, they're manual systems, and we know that about that. And knowing our constituency and you, we do our best to rate you the most highly favorable on our assessment. So I emphasize, acquire QuickBooks, or another financial management software program. Larger organizations is the standard. Attachment B. This has your payment provisions, your payment plan and schedule and requirements that need to be taken before your payment can be made. Working lands grants are paid on a reimbursement basis. So their payments are made after expenses are incurred. So your initial claim or payment is made as a claim in the grants management system, and we will only pay immediate expenses when they're accompanied by estimates and purchase orders or appraisals within the past 30 days of your grant application. You upload these to the grants management system, and most importantly, your initial request reimbursement should occur generally within the first 2 months after your grant start date. So now if you anticipate it's going to take longer to do that, let us know. Also, you can invoice us for less than that full 40%. Most important thing is that we want to know that you've gotten going, you're moving forward, and so that first invoice is that first marker to us of progress on your project, because the interim report doesn't occur until halfway point of your grant, which is 9 months down the road. In fact, typically for grants, working lands grants, we pay 40% after you have those costs to be reimbursed, 40% at the interim, and so this interim report payments claims are made after your interim report has been approved by the team, a claim has been submitted in the GMS, which also contains uploaded documentation of your expenses, and we just lost our connection. We apologize. This happened to us once before.
Right before, but no worries. Let me pull it up quickly.
I think we're going to transfer slide sharing over to Tori, who can on her computer. We apologize this happened earlier. We're not sure why it happened.
I'm in the working list. If you want to pull up the webinar.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, while we get this fixed. And I'm going to put ourselves on mute. Were this a real slick presentation, we would have very nice elevator music for your enjoyment while we fix this technical issue. But this is agriculture. We'll be back with you in just a second.
All right, can everyone see the screen? Attachment B continued.
Yep.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much for holding on, everyone. And it's very odd to have that our main computer here go offline. So, interim reports are made after, there's the cursor. After, okay, we've already done this. Let's see, we're just picking up where we were before. So typically interim reports are for 40% of the total grant. And your invoice didn't mention before that working lands grants require one-to-one matching. So every dollar of grant funds, we need an equal amount of matching funds. So for your, say your 40% is $10,000, we would need to see $20,000 in expenditures in order to make that grant payment. That's clear. Yes, so one-to-one matching. So final payment is determined after receipt, analysis by the Working Lands Administrative Team, and approval of your online final report, which clearly demonstrates achievement toward grant agreement expected outcomes. If outcomes aren't achieved, then you need to clearly explain mitigating factors in detail with a rationale. Obviously, life happens. In 2015, that was the winter that wouldn't die. At this time in 2015, there was still permafrost on the ground. We had about a half a foot of snow on the ground, and a lot of projects got started late. So for that final payment, a claim must also be submitted in GMS, in which you upload your final project expense documentation, receipts, and invoices. So you always must, in addition to your claim, upload a hard copy scanned invoice. That's what our business office needs to pay from. You also will upload copies of your receipts, your expense documentation or a QuickBooks financial report. Take a glass of water.
I'll also say with the interim and final reports that we'll review and go over them, and if there's any information missing, that's another thing that we will negotiate back to you. So if it's not right, we will be in touch.
Never fear.
Yeah.
And your budgeted versus actual reconciliation. And the final invoice. So attachment C, this is what we might call the state boilerplate. This is standard requirements for all grants and contracts in the state of Vermont. Oh, and yes, this has been updated. So unless you're a sole proprietor, you need workers' compensation, general liability, $1 million in coverage, auto liability. This year they reduced it to only $500,000. So a certificate of insurance needs to be sent to us. You've been uploading them to us. We have the address here, but we need that COI in hand before we will execute your grant agreement. You also need to be in compliance with Vermont taxes paid, or else the Department of Taxation may take part or all of your grant or payments. If there's a child support order, you need to be current and in compliance. All of your records are available for audit. No subcontracts are allowed without prior approval, although most of you noted in your applications when you anticipated subcontracted work. Attachment D is what we call other grant requirements, matching verification. So we need something that shows that you have reserved funds in the amount of the match, and it's a one-on-one match, that are available and ready for use now. Different ways of verifying match, a third-party statement of funds. For in-kind matching, we need to know the number of hours, computed hourly rate. They need to be reasonable, and the details of those doing the in-kind work. So grant work cannot begin until we've got some kind of verification that your matching funds are in hand, expected to be in hand, and have been verified. So matching and grant funds are spent at the same time, one-to-one. And there are some ineligible expenses for matching. Overhead and indirect costs, we call those the normal costs of doing business. We won't pay for copy or paper, sorry. Food, meals, entertainment costs, and we also won't pay for your cell phones. Items purchased for personal use, other grant requirements, real and expendable property. Now, a lot of you may be purchasing high-value equipment, and real and expendable property is important here. So we should just be notified of all large equipment costs that you are purchasing as you proceed with the grant. After your grant has ended, real or non-expendable property costing less than $1,000 may be used for other activities without reimbursement to the state. Real or non-expendable property costing more than $1,000 must be used for business activities after the end date of the grant. And we don't want you to just go off and sell them after the grant's over. If you sell property acquired with grant funds costing more than $1,000, you'll need to pay back the state. This is just due to some concerns we had with previous grantees and lessons learned from some federal grants. So these are details of property sold after the end date of the grant if the capital item is more than $1,000. All of this will be, of course, included here with the recording of the webinar that you can refer to later. We're trying to make this short so that you can be on with this glorious day. So attachment D, as we said before, you must be ready to begin project work immediately following execution of your grant. We mentioned the 2-month delay before. Site visits. We really like to show off the work of our grantees, and so our team may conduct a site visit during the course of your agreement. Also, you are visible and public. So you need to know that except for proprietary and personal identifying data, your names, the amount of your grant awards, and other information regarding your grant project is considered public information. It's open to public information requests, public records requests. You also may be contacted by our other working lands partners, by legislators in your area or district, or other stakeholders regarding your project. So when can you begin? The start and end dates are important because they cannot begin until the grant agreement has been fully executed. Expenses can't be incurred until the grant matching funds until the grant has been fully executed. If you do before, they don't count. Exceptions are granted on a case-by-case basis, only with approval of the grant administrator. Oh, that's me. Okay. Yes, case-by-case basis. So when you get your grant agreement, carefully review, sign, return your grant agreement as soon as possible, and keep it in a clear, keep it safe and handy so that it can be your reference as you proceed with your grant project. Your grant is for 18 months. Early completion of grants are considered only when your grant outcomes have been completely reached. If they're attained prior to the end date, we will need a full final report. Your grant final report will be reviewed and will be considered for early completion, but only if your outcomes have been fully reached. So our timeline, by mid-May, we hope to have all of your grants finalized and sent to our business office. We're anticipating May 7th as your start date. Da-da-da-da-da, you can begin. And in May, as applicable, begin to submit your claims, your initial invoices to the GMS. By July, you should have submitted your initial claim for reimbursement. That's that 2-month thing. Bing, May 7th. In February to March of next year will be that 9-month halfway mark when you'll get notifications about 30 days ahead, 2 weeks ahead, 7 days ahead that your interim report is due. Many of you will submit a claim with that interim report, but we will not approve or process it until after the administrative team reviews and approves your interim report. So project end dates will be October to November 2018. And just about 17 months after the start date, when you get that 30-day notification of your end date, begin gathering data and finalize your expenditures. You have 30 days from the end date of your grant to submit your final report. Final report, documentation, your final claim, final invoice, record of your matching. Our website is vermontworkinglands.com, and we have a number of forms that can be downloaded. Oh, one thing we did not mention. There is what's called an ACH form, which stands for Automatic Clearinghouse. We highly recommend this. This allows grant funds to be direct deposited into your business bank account. This really speeds up your grant payment. Otherwise, we will have a hard copy check that has to go into the snail mail, and it's slower than having direct deposit in your bank account. These direct deposit forms, and you can ask about us later, Those get sent not to us, but directly to the Department of Finance and Management. Their information will be on that ACH form. Contact information, workinglands.com. There's me, my phone number, my email. You know where to find me, and our address. So let's pull open the chat box. If anyone has any questions, let's open that up larger.
Wow.
Okay.
I'd say also if anyone wants to just speak up, feel free to ask questions over the phone.
Yeah, you can unmute yourself and ask at this point in time.
Hey, this is Russ. I just have
Yes,
a
Russ.
question on the early completion of the
Yeah.
project. Is it still required to have some type of like a midterm report if we anticipate getting the project done before that time frame? Work out independently?
I'd say your interim and final will be all in one. This did happen with one of our 2016 grantees, so we just directed her to the final report.
Okay.
Good question.
Thank you.
Okay, another question here is about the certificate of insurance form. We have a sample certificate of insurance, but your insurance agent is the one that sends that to us. This certificate lists the state of Vermont as an additional insured. In the bottom left corner it says certificate holder, and it's in the liability levels required by the state. You are always welcome to have your insurance agent contact us if they have any questions. We work with them too. Other questions?
Yeah, this is Andy Jones. I have a question also related to the certificate of insurance. It's specific to our operation, so I'd also be happy to ask it after the fact.
Sorry, I had a little background noise. What was that one thing about the certificate?
I had a question, but it's somewhat specific to the particulars of our application. I'm happy to ask it at another time if you're trying to keep
or
this
you can
general questions.
You can send me an email and we can answer that offline.
Perfect.
Great. Does anyone else have any other questions? And I would say that if you have questions at any time along the way, please don't ever hesitate to contact me or Melissa if other questions come up.
Yes. So this, all this information available for reference and review, and where we will be posting a copy of this webinar on the VermontWorkingLands.com website so that you can download that to review at your convenience. And we're always here. Let's see, we've got one or two more slides here. Okay, who is this? We just want to let you know that we are cheering you on, and that Clover, our delightful Agency of Agriculture mascot, is cheering you on too. And she is just so happy, happy as not as a clam, as a cow, to be cheering you on. And so we just want to let you know that there's no regulations, there's no administrivia here, but we're here to see you succeed. And so please never hesitate to reach out to us when you have questions, concerns, things going on. The board is cheering you on. We're just really excited for you. Clover is our Agency of Agriculture mascot. We're just flipping all over the place for you. And with that, and then no more questions, we thank you very much. That's an example of some young, very young foresters bought a piece of equipment for their tractor that enabled them to really, it was interesting grant, but we really we are supporting small businesses, large businesses, and helping Vermont's working lands. And with that, we say thank you very much and have a great rest of your day.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.